This is ABCKOMO-TV Channel 4, serving the Seattle-Tacoma area, operating on a frequency of 556 MHz, on a transmitting power of 1,000 kilowatts. The current time is 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Breaking news and updates. Authorities of King County Sheriff's Office are at a loss of finding out who was responsible for the deaths of 2 people who were found on the waters of Puget Sound, off the coast of Des Moines, Washington. Upon inspection by the coroners on the scene, they discovered that they were killed due to severe blood loss, which was evidenced by huge bite marks found on each of their chests, with signs of bruising and cuts on their arms and legs. Some people of Des Moines testified to the police that they recalled hearing blood-curdling screams on the western side of Des Moines, followed by distant shrieking sounds. Authorities have no doubt that the attacker must be some sort of a vampire creature. However, there are no confirmation about their theory at this time. The vampire creatures, or vampires, are a being that subsists by feeding on the vital force, generally in the form of blood, of the living, and they originally exist on European folklores. If this was really the case for the deaths of 2 people on October 17, 2018, then the situation would be pretty much dire. We hope that the authorities will find the suspect soon before it can harm any more civilian populace. We will continue to update you regularly about this situation when new information is available to us. More details about this situation can be found at our website at komonews.com, or can be found on television by channel 436, or on the radio frequency of 566 MHz. In other news, the hashtag #MeToo movement took off in the United States last year in the wake of this.
You're listening to NOAA Weather Radio. Station KAD 93 in Seattle. This broadcast was originated from Blaine, Washington, located near the U.S.-Canada border. Station KAD 93 transmits on a frequency of 162.525 MHz, with a transmitting frequency power of 100 kilowatts. The current time is 9:06 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now for the official National Weather Service forecast for the Seattle metropolitan area. Wednesday. Partly cloudy. Northeast winds blows in the upper 20s. Lows in the upper 30s. Winds of over 18 miles per hour. Chances of precipitation 45%. Wednesday evening. Slight rain showers. Southwest winds blows in the upper 30s. Winds of over 10 miles per hour. Chances of precipitation 50%. Thursday morning. Partly sunny and cloudy. Northeastern winds blows over the lower. The following message is transmitted at the request by the Seattle Police Department. At 9:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, police have reported 4 people killed in the neighborhood of Madison Park. Authorities are not certain who is responsible for this murder, but medical coroners on the scene revealed that the victims all have huge bite marks on their shoulders and chest, with some signs of physical injuries to their legs, hips, forehead, and arms. It is also reported by an eyewitness that a strange figure had fled the scene shortly after this event. Seattle PD is currently investigating the situation and is advising all residents in and within a 2-mile radius of Madison Park to return to your homes and avoid going outside for the rest of tonight. If you spot any suspicious activity in your area, dial 911 immediately. The following message is transmitted at the request by the Seattle Police Department. At 9:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, police have reported 4 people killed in the neighborhood. The following message is transmitted at the request by the King County Sheriff's Office and the Seattle Police Department. At 11 p.m., authorities have received several 911 calls reporting hearing loud screams coming from the Paramount Theater. Police later entered the theater, only to find everyone inside the Paramount Theater killed, including one critically injured civilian who said, quote, "Vampires. They killed everyone," before losing consciousness and died. The death toll on the attack of the theater was believed to be over 300 people who attended. 70% of the deceased victims have appeared to have the same bite marks that have seen by authorities since 2 hours ago. In addition, CCTV footages in the theater revealed that over 5 figures were seen leaving the theater out into Pine Street, right after 300 people were killed. The figure's initial description was these figures being covered with blood, and bears a resemblance to a human being with different clothing, but they all have pale white skin on all 5 individuals. No further information has been released by the police as of yet. All residents within a 5-mile radius of Paramount Theater are strongly advised to return to your homes immediately. Stay away from the streets at this time. In addition, all motorists on Interstate 5 in Seattle are advised to exit immediately. The Washington State Department of Transportation and local authorities has blocked off the interstate from all civilian traffic within a 5-mile radius, with the exception of civil authorities and highway patrols. Anyone inside the 5-mile radius on Interstate 5 near Paramount Theater are urged to exit the interstate immediately and postpone all travel plans. If you spot any of these people, who have a pale white skin appearance, dial 911 immediately. Do not interact with these individuals, as they could be dangerous. If you must travel, you do so at your own risk. More information and details about the road closures of Interstate 5 in Washington can be found at ws.wa.gov. Continue to monitor this local news station, or other media outlets or sources for more information and updates. The following message is transmitted at the request by the King County Sheriff's Office and the Seattle Police Department. At 11 p.m., authorities have received several 911.
This is KOMO4 TV News at 6 o'clock, here today on October 30, 2019. We bring you today about the latest and the most major event to occur in Seattle that night. Today at 6 a.m., heavy traffic is piling up in both directions of Interstate 5, all the way to the neighborhood of Northgate to the north, and all the way past Tacoma, rear-ending near DuPont. The reason for this severe traffic holdup because the two-directional 5-mile portion of Interstate 5 between Interstate 5 Washington State Route 520 Junction and Interstate 5 Spokane Street Viaduct interchange was closed off by WSDOT highway patrols, with assistance from the Seattle Police Department. This was done as a precautionary measure, following an incident that left 300 people brutally murdered at the Paramount Theater last night, and was currently under investigation as of this moment. The perpetrators of this incident was these 5 individuals who exited the theater shortly after this incident. They appeared to be human, but they all have their pale white skin tones. What's more disturbing is that they were covered in blood in their mouths, chests, and legs. This led to some speculation by local authorities that they could be vampires, but they do not have any hard evidence to back up their allegations. If you have just heard, an emergency alert system has issued a civil danger warning and told all residents within a 5-mile radius of Paramount Theater to return to your homes immediately. The theater is closed shortly after this incident and residents are asking the public officials demanding to know when will they be allowed to leave their homes or when will the theater be reopened in time for the Halloween art convention, which will take place at the Paramount Theater. So far, there are no major leads to be found at this time, and we hope they will find and catch the suspects quickly. We have no idea when they will strike again for sure. We now go over to one of our reporters, Lee Stewart Haynes, who is on Pine Street, close to the Paramount Theater, and he's standing directly above Interstate 5. Lee?
Yes, Devin Anderson. I am currently standing on Pine Street, just above Interstate 5, only a few feet away between where I am right now and the Paramount Theater, where as you can see behind me, it is a bit chaotic around here. I see squads of SWAT teams guarding the perimeter area of the theater, and I see several police investigators combing around the site for clues. There are a lot of police vehicles right behind me, and only a few more are coming as I speak. Also present were several journalists trying to get a hold of the story, but their efforts were being slowed down by the police telling them that it was unauthorized to the public. Only news reporters such as myself, with a lot of crewmen here, and including the high-ranking officials, can be allowed here. Although this situation gave me a bit of the creeps, whether if I'm safe to do so at any moment. As for Interstate 5, it appeared to be mostly empty. However, I can see only a few pickup trucks with was labeled as they were from the Washington State Department of Transportation, and it is in fact, highway patrollers. We have no idea what are their motives for the 5 perpetrators to do so to accomplish.
My gut feeling is that they only do this to stop the Halloween art convention that was supposed to take place there tonight on October 31st. If so, then I can't believe they actually did it. Though it might not be too serious, this some sort of an attack has left many of Seattle residents in a state of shock, fearing that whoever did this might strike back again.
That's what I thought so, but we have no idea when will they come back, to say the least. All I can remember is this last year's incident where a young couple of the Watsons family were murdered off the coast of Des Moines, Washington since October 17, 2018. Most witnesses claimed that it must be a vampiric attack, and now, it appears that this scene, like the one back at the neighborhood of Madison Park and including this one, it's becoming all too familiar, except it's twice as deadly than I anticipated, with such a high death count to ever reach at this time of year.
I can't believe about it, and I feel terrible about the loss of so many lives that night. But let's hope for the best that these perpetrators will be brought to justice, and we hope you will find anything that might lead to a turning point for the case.
We will try our best, Devin Anderson. We will continue to monitor the situation as much as possible.
Thank you, Lee Haynes. Surely, this scene of the crime must be breathtaking, with lots of stuff going on since that attack last night. As stated before, our reporter, Lee Stewart Haynes, including us, KOMO News 4, will continue to update you regularly about the situation as soon as new information becomes available to us. More information can be found at komonews.com. Breaking news. We got a report from local authorities that an emergency situation is occurring in the Alaskan Way Tunnel. A massive vehicular pileup explosion has just occurred in the northbound section of the tunnel. This event had generated severe traffic queues, reaching as far as Aurora Avenue, by over a mile long to the north, and as far as towards the West Seattle Bridge and southern Spokane Street to the south. Toll operators told police that the tanker truck had entered the tunnel the moment before they heard a distinct loud crash inside the tunnel. We have no idea how many motorists that died in this disaster, and as of right now, several police cars, ambulances and fire engines are currently being sent to the tunnel, where the situation is absolutely chaotic, just like the one back at the Paramount Theater last night. We got a live feed call from the chief of the Seattle Police Department, Gashton Reed, who is currently on the scene, at CenturyLink Field Stadium, near the southern portal of the tunnel, where the base of operations was located. Chief Gashton Reed, are you there?
Mr. Anderson, yes, I can hear you loud and clear. As you can see, this situation is far more dramatic and pretty much concerning, just like when we were in the middle of investigating the murders of 300 people in the Paramount Theater since last night. As we told them about the emergency response, they told us that the fire was originated at the center of the northbound direction of the tunnel, where many citizens can feel the shockwave all over the Pike Place Market, and some felt the vibrations in nearby areas, to as far as past through the Alaskan Way seawall, and as far as Westlake Park, where we received so many calls about vibrations in that area.
How did they know about it, Chief Reed?
Mr. Anderson, this tunnel features an emergency exit, which also has an emergency telephone and a fire extinguisher. From there, anyone who witnessed the fire must have called it and raised the alarm. The emergency exit doorways are also served as coordinates on their schematics, so this means they can know almost exactly where the fire is, and how they can easily relay the location to us. With the sprinkler systems, we can put any fires, so the fires may gradually become less and less of a threat, but we can only bring a few fire engines just in case. But what we are currently focusing right now is how many people who could have survived and perished, judging by the nature of the explosion, or how bad does this explosion can get.
Did anyone had performed any damage assessments around the tunnel, or any nearby areas such as the Alaskan Way seawall, or the Pike Place Market, or anywhere within the shockwave radius?
In all areas except for the tunnel, these areas only suffered very light damage, but they still need to check any water utilities and drainage systems, which might take some time. For the Alaskan Way seawall, it was under renovation until it was finished by 2017, so I am pretty much sure that it's safe to say that it was in a stable condition.
Are there any people within a shockwave radius injured?
I do not know exactly. However, we received calls from several citizens regarding medical emergencies about their injuries. Some said that they have suffered bruises or sprained their ankles as a result of the shockwave, but only a few people had told us that they also suffered flesh wounds caused by falling shards of glass and debris. Overall, I'm guessing to say that they have suffered minor injuries, and there are no reported fatalities as of yet.
Chief Gashton Reed, since you are here right now, what are you gonna do about this situation?
You did not know. We simply have to enter the tunnel using our fire engines and vehicles specialized in dealing with tunnel rescuing operations, even in zero visibility. We have no idea if the fire's ferocity would be severe enough to hinder our efforts to rescue anyone trapped inside, but we will try.
Chief Gashton Reed, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to cut you off for a moment, because our producers have received an activation of the emergency alert system. Please stand by for an activation of the emergency alert system, and we will get back online once the alert message was finished transmitting. This is Devin Anderson, reporting from the news station of KOMO News 4.
The following message is transmitted at the request by the Seattle Police Department. This is a law enforcement warning. At 9:07 p.m., a massive vehicular accident has occurred at the Alaskan Way Tunnel, resulting in an explosion and fire that caused an increase of traffic flow in both directions, to as far as Aurora Boulevard in the north, and as far as West Seattle Bridge and Spokane Street. The causes of this event are unclear, and local authorities will be investigating this situation. All motorists on Washington State Route 99 are advised to take the following actions: avoid entering the Alaskan Way Tunnel at this time, as it was deemed too dangerous to travel in these circumstances. The road leading to Alaskan Way Tunnel is closed, and roadblocks are erected on a portion of the State Route 99 in the tunnel. No one is allowed to cross the roadblock, or you will be arrested. Additionally, in an effort to combat traffic congestion on State Route 99, Interstate 5 in Seattle is now reopened to all civilian traffic, and motorists can now drive on through this route. However, all exit and entry ramps within a 3-mile radius of the Paramount Theater remained closed, in order to avoid interference with the police investigation, and to minimize civilian casualties, should the perpetrators return. More details about this situation can be found on KOMO News website at komonews.com, or on Washington State Department of Transportation website at ws.wa.gov. Continue to monitor local news stations or other media sources for latest updates and await further instructions. If you are not residing in Seattle area, tune to stations providing news and information in your local area.
Are we back on? Yes. Looks like our equipment is running normally. As you may have just heard, Alaskan Way Tunnel is closed off to civilian traffic on State Route 99, and Interstate 5 in Seattle has now been reopened. However, the ramps within a 3-mile radius remained impassable in order to ease their investigation process. This was good news for transportation and travel efficiency, but only a few things that should be kept in mind, such as the attack of Paramount Theater, and the explosion of the Alaskan Way Tunnel, and also, it includes a major link in the chain, and that was about these 5 perpetrators. These perpetrators who is responsible for the deaths of 300 people are yet to be found, and still remains at large. We still have no clue when they will strike again, but we must remember to remain vigilant, and remember to keep a lookout of anyone with a pale white skin tones, and their strange, suspicious behavior. The fact that is, we feared about the chain of events. The explosion of the Alaskan Way Tunnel, the attack on Paramount Theater on October 29th, the murders of 4 innocent people at Madison Park on October 29th, and even the deaths of the young couple of the Watsons family were killed at Puget Sound on October 17, 2018. In all of these horrific events, we feared that these events may be linked to the perpetrators. Many of us feared that something bad will happen, but we have no idea when if something might confirm our worst fears. Let's hope it won't. If these showed up again, there would have been massive civilian casualties, and the police forces might need all the strength they can get to pull through with this situation. For now though, we have no choice but to put our fears aside, because, as our news reporter in Seattle, it is our duty to monitor this situation for as much as possible and keep you updated, so civilians can know about what was going on, and what to do on this situation. This is Devin Anderson, reporting in on KOMO News 4 TV. Stay tuned to this station for more information and to await further instructions. Those who do not know about the situation can visit our website for more info at komonews.com. Now we can move on to weather forecast from the National Weather Service, and sports at the top of the hour.
Civil danger for the city of Seattle. The following message is transmitted at the request by the Seattle Police Department. At 7:01 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Dr. Jose Park was under attack by two individuals, revealed to be vampiric creatures. Police have identified these two vampires via medical records. The first suspect name is Danielle Riddle, a 5 to 6 feet tall white female, weighing over 100 pounds, has reddish-brown hair with teal eyes, and she was last seen wearing a sleeveless gray shirt, black unzipped jacket, short jeans, and black boots. Her medical records stated that she was born on October 17, 1997, and she was 18 years old at the time of her death on September 11, 2016, where she was shot and killed by a robber at her home in Olympia during a break-in. The second suspect is Ryan Abrahams, a white male, born on July 11, 2001, with red spiked hair and green eyes, 5 feet, 9 inches tall, weighing over 120 pounds, and was last seen wearing a black leather jacket, dark blue navy pants, and white shoes. He died on February 17, 2019 at the age of 17 due to a traffic accident at Spokane, Washington. Police have also confirmed Danielle and Ryan's involvement of the Paramount Theater massacre. The following characteristics of these vampire creatures are: increased strength, sharp white fangs, red eyes, pale white skin, heightened sense of eyesight, drinking blood by biting on their victims in any part of their body, particularly on their neck or chests, sensitivity to sunlight, morphing, and blood appearing on their sharp teeth or fangs and mouths. This is an extremely dangerous situation and should not be taken lightly. Seattle PD is currently being sent in to deal with this situation, and is advising all residents to seek shelter immediately. Board up all windows and doors with plywood or heavy furniture and close off all ventilation ducts and fireplace dampers. Stay away from doors and windows. Do not go outside or attempt to apprehend them yourself, as you may be putting your life in extreme danger, and you may be potentially turned into one of these creatures. If you spot Danielle or Ryan in your area, or if you have a life-threatening emergency, dial 911 immediately. Stay tuned to this station and await further details and instructions.
This is KOMO News 4, serving the Seattle-Tacoma area, on a frequency of 556 MHz. The current time is 7:07 p.m., Pacific Standard Time. Here are tonight's headlines. Dr. Jose Park is currently under attack by two vampire creatures, identified as Danielle Mreitel and Ryan Abrahams. Both were killed in 2016 and 2019 respectively, and appeared to have been risen from the dead. The reasons of how they became reborn were unclear, but what we're worrying about right now that it tends to escalate, as police have reported more and more civilians, in or near Dr. Jose Park, were bitten by Danielle and Ryan, and some, who died, turned into these vampire creatures, and began attacking uninfected civilians. They are known to morph themselves from the human form to vampires, and can run faster, jump higher, and have increased strength, meaning they can take on a considerable amount of bullets and can still keep on going. Police have also confirmed their involvement on the Paramount Theater massacre since less than 24 hours ago. The other three perpetrators, who were with them on the massacre, still remained unidentified, and still remained at large. Interstate 90 have experienced such a rampage, as infected civilians with the vampiric disease began attacking motorists on the interstate, triggering mass panic. Seattle police forces are having difficulties trying to deal with the situation, and they fear that they are about to be overrun. In response to this, the chief of the Seattle PD, Gashton Reed, are calling the Washington National Guard to deal with the situation, and they are expected to arrive within 10 minutes. In the meantime, all residents in Seattle are strongly advised to return to your homes and avoid traveling if possible. If you see any of these creatures, do not try to fight back by yourself, as they are stronger and faster than us. The survival rate of yourself against this creature will be as little to none, and you will either be killed by severe blood loss in excruciating pain, or you may or will be turned into a vampire as well. That is one hell of a disease that looked something like a zombie attack, but with evil entities like these vampire monsters, trying to consume the human vital energies of your body, generally by biting and feeding the blood to keep them alive. The only thing you can do is to call 911 and do not do anything else, just stay in your home. Barricade all points of entry, such as doors and windows. Close all vents and fireplace dampers and remember to stock up several days' worth of emergency supplies, such as food, water, clothing, medical supplies, extra batteries, and a battery-powered radio. Use this radio to continue monitoring the situation if the power goes out. Do not let anyone into your home, as any one of these civilians could be vampires, who have an ability to morph between human and vampire forms, and will ultimately kill you. If one of these creatures break into your home, hide in a closet, bathroom, or in a confined space or an interior room. Do not make any noises as they might attract these creatures. Do not panic. Panicking will most likely decrease your chance of survival, and will make the situation far worse. Be prepared to evacuate, in case if a mandatory evacuation is in effect when the situation became far worse. For now though, we will continue to monitor this situation as long as we can, if the situation improves, or if new information is available. We now go on to weather reports.
They're charging through. Open fire! We need smaller troops. Tell everyone in the city to evacuate now.
The following message is transmitted by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, at the request by the Washington National Guard and city officials. A mandatory evacuation order is in effect for the Seattle metropolitan area. At 7:28 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the 15th Division of the Washington National Guard was nearly eliminated by several hordes of infected civilians, including the formerly deceased figures named Denny Elm Riddle and Ryan Abrahams. The majority of these soldiers, including the commander, were bitten and were either killed or turned into these creatures. However, only First Class Lieutenant Xavier Robinson and 2 other soldiers managed to escape. More and more attacks by these creatures across the city's suburbs had resulted in some people either being killed or turned into these vampire creatures. As a result of this worsening situation, the Washington National Guard is ordering an immediate evacuation order to all citizens from the Seattle metropolitan area. All residents are strongly advised to do the following actions. Residents are advised to prepare an emergency supply rations that can last for 3 to 5 days, such as food, water, extra clothing, medical supplies, flashlights, and a battery-powered radio or television with extra batteries. Use 1 vehicle per family. If you have more people with you, offer them to travel with you. If you don't have a vehicle, or if you are having difficulties with transportation, call 911, and military authorities will help you. Before you evacuate, make sure you turn off electricity, water, and gas. Tie a white towel or cloth to a visible location, such as your door or mailbox, to let military authorities know that you are evacuating. If you are evacuating, head south or east from Seattle. Shelters are being set up south in King County or Challen or Kittias counties by the east, and Pierce County, south from King County. More details about the evacuation shelters and routes can be found at www.fema.gov, or can be found by listening to a radio and tuning to news stations. Repeating, the Washington National Guard has ordered an immediate evacuation for all residents in the Seattle metropolitan area. Evacuate now. I repeat, evacuate now. Do not wait, or you may be too late, and you might put yourself and others at risk of being killed or turned into these vampiric creatures. Continue to monitor this news station or other media sources and outlets on this dangerous situation.
This is KIT 1280 AM radio, serving the Yakima, Washington area. It's 8:15 p.m. on October 30th, 2019. We are currently reporting about the emergency situation in Seattle, where a violent vampire attack is taking place. The military was successful in evacuating most of the uninfected civilian populace from the Seattle metropolitan area. However, the numbers of the infected are continue to increase dramatically, and military authorities fear that they might breach the roadblocks around the perimeter of the metro area. As such, the Washington National Guard, and the United States government, who is aware of the situation, has called in a governmental organization, specialized in dealing with paranormal threats, an organization called the Templar Special Unit. It is an organization consisting of elite soldiers who possess an arsenal of weapons capable of fighting against these vampiric mobs. The headquarters location was undisclosed due to security reasons at this time. They are currently being sent to the Washington state and it is expected that they will arrive in 20 minutes. In the meantime, the Washington National Guard, with assistance from the United States Armed Forces, will be trying to fend off the situation to give the Templar Special Unit time to arrive. At this present moment, several vampire attacks began to spread further north from Seattle at an astounding pace, and was in progress of attacking the cities of Everett, Mount Vernon, and Blaine. It is currently unknown how many people have either fled from these cities or been infected or killed by these creatures. It had all began at Dr. Jose Park in Seattle, where two people who were previously killed are Danielle Myrtle and Ryan Abrahams had began attacking the citizens at the park. Danielle Myrtle was born on October 17, 1997, and was killed by a home burglar in Olympia on September 11, 2016, at her age of 18. Ryan Abrahams was born on June 11, 2001, and was killed due to blunt trauma injuries sustained via traffic accident in Spokane, at the age of 17, on February 17, 2019. According to the local and military authorities in Seattle, these two were appeared to have reborn, and the causes of how this happened remained unknown at this time. Some believed that a person, a necromancer, must be responsible, and he must be in Seattle before and during this event. The other three perpetrators who were with them during the Paramount Theater massacre since less than 24 hours ago remained unknown, and are assumed to be responsible for attacking the cities further north from Seattle in Washington. Both of these two suspects who started this rampage are being placed on the FBI watch list, while the other three unknown perpetrators are also placed on the suspect list. These can be found at their FBI website. If you spot Danielle or Ryan, do not interact with them, and hide. If you approach them, you will be killed, and may turn into a vampire.
The following message is transmitted at the request by the Olympia Police Department and the Washington State Police. A violent vampire attack has been spread across Seattle and has begun affecting nearby areas too, as far as further north towards Canada, and it is spreading south through ZacAttackk. Due to this, a voluntary evacuation order has been issued to residents living in Olympia. Citizens in Olympia are advised to do the following actions. Gather an emergency supply of food worth of 3 to 5 days, a gallon of water for each member of your family, extra clothes and blankets for each member of your family, medical supplies, batteries, flashlight or emergency lighting supplies, survival kits, and a battery-powered or hand-crank-powered radio. Use only one vehicle per family. If you have relatives who need help, take them with you if possible, or call the emergency service number at 911, and local and military authorities will help you. Before you evacuate, tie a bright cloth to a visible location of your house, such as a door or mailbox, to let authorities know that you are leaving to a safe location. Turn off gas, water, and electricity in your house. When you evacuate, head south from Thurston County, or west from the city. If possible, try to get as far away from Olympia or from the Seattle metropolitan area as possible. This is only a voluntary evacuation, and there are no penalties for disobedience. However, if you choose not to evacuate, you may face certain death by these vampiric creatures. Stay tuned to this station and other media outlets for later updates and information.
The following message is transmitted at the request by the Tacoma Police Department and state officials. A mandatory evacuation order is in effect for the Seattle metropolitan area, including all of Tacoma. A massive swarm of vampires has overtaken Seattle and is currently spreading further north, while slowly spreading eastward, and it is currently heading towards Tacoma, and it is expected to reach Tacoma within 30 minutes. All residents in Tacoma are strongly advised to evacuate now. Bring enough emergency supplies that can last for 3 to 5 days, such as food, water, clothing, medical supplies, extra batteries, and a battery-powered radio. Use one vehicle per family. If you are having difficulties in evacuating, or if you can't evacuate on your own, call 911, and military authorities will help you. Before you evacuate, turn off your gas, electricity, and water in your house. Tie a bright towel or cloth to a visible location, as military authorities will know that you are evacuating. When you evacuate, follow down the following evacuation routes. Interstate 5 south towards Olympia. State Route 7 south towards the city of Morton. State Route 520 south towards Centralia. Do not try to take any alternative routes, or take any long-way roads, as you'll most likely put yourself into there's a risk for spotting any vampire creature on the road. Follow these marked evacuation routes by local and military officials. Evacuate now. To repeat, evacuate Tacoma now. Do not wait, or you will die. Continue to monitor a local news station and other media outlets for later updates and information on this dangerous situation.
This is KIT 1280 AM radio, serving the Yakima, Washington area. It's 8:35 p.m. on October 30th, 2019. This report is a follow-up regarding the vampire attack in Seattle since 20 minutes ago. According to the Emergency Management in Washington and the Washington National Guard, these vampires continue to attack civilians further north towards Blaine, Washington. Tacoma is currently in progress of being invaded by sproutes of vampire hordes, while some residents in Olympia decided to flee from the city south away from Thurston and King counties, towards Pierce by southeast or through Thurston County by the west, away from the proximity of the Seattle metro area. Casualty numbers are currently unknown, but was believed to be up to 100,000 of people, and the vampire infection rates have appeared to be grown dramatically in such a short period of time. As of this present moment, the special squadron from the governmental organization, codenamed Vampire Hunters, operating under the governmental organization, Templar Special Unit, or officially named as Templar Paranormal Security Forces personnel, are currently above the Washington state, and it is approaching towards the military installation at Camp Murray in 2 minutes. Once they arrive, the commander-in-chief of the organization, Julian DiCaprio, will discuss to the Washington National Guard about the severity of the situation, and about planning to deal with this situation. Information about the discussion will not be revealed to the public because the commander-in-chief knew about these creatures from before, and he told authorities that these vampire creatures have increased intelligence and will know about everything if they expose anything confidential to the public. The organization has dealt with many of these paranormal and vampiric threats since during its founding in 1978. And the recent event was in October 31, 2004, when 5 cultist members from the vampirism cult Red Religion Rite invaded the Mount Guardian School in Salem, Oregon at night during the Halloween Vigil ceremony. Some organization squad members, including DiCaprio, were there on routine watch, and swiftly dealt with the situation with the assistance from the authorities of the Salem police. Some military authorities felt concerned about what will happen to Zen or many of the squad members, due to the fact that the infection rates have risen dramatically, and as many as up to 750,000 to 1.5 million people were infected and turned into these vampire monsters. The commander-in-chief told the authorities that it might take some time to figure out the plan to solve this. This plan might go on to initiate an offensive to liberate the Seattle metro area and any affected cities, and to halt any further vampire attacks from spreading. One such offensive that if any simple mistakes were to occur, This might trigger an all-out state of national emergency. All we can do is wait for the decision from Julian DiCaprio and the squad forces called Vampire Hunters to deal with this massive vampire attack that has never seen before since the Mount Guardian School incident since almost 15 years ago. As such, we will continue to monitor the situation if this situation improves, or if new and vital information is available to us. This is KIT 1280 AM Radio. Stay tuned to this broadcast for further information. We now go on to these radio messages from one of our sponsors.
This message is transmitted at the request by the British Columbia Emergency Management. This is not a test. Stay tuned to this station for the following information.
Ce message est transmis à la demande de la British Columbia Emergency Management. Ce n'est pas un test. Restez à l'écoute de cette station pour les informations suivantes.
The event type is civil danger. In effect for the central and southern British Columbia. At 8:48 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, reports of vampire attacks in the cities of Iterac, Langley, and Delta have been received. Emergency management officials believe that these vampires have been originated from the United States, where a neighboring U.S. state of Washington from the border is first under attack by vampires, who was first appeared in the Washington city of Seattle. Local authorities are attempting to deal with this situation, but they were having difficulty in doing so. At this time, the governments of Canada and the United States, in conjunction with the Templar Paranormal Security Forces personnel, are currently discussing about the severity of this situation. All residents in these affected areas are strongly advised to do the following actions to ensure your survival. Seek an underground shelter, or on the lowest level of your home if possible. If you do not have any of these shelters, hide in a nethermost portion of your house, or in an interior room with all doors and windows locked, especially that your house must have all windows and doors locked or boarded up. Avoid glass windows, exterior walls, and doors. Stock up emergency supplies worth of 5 days. Do not go outside and try to apprehend this creature by yourself, or you're putting yourself and others in extreme danger. These vampires have the following characteristics and abilities. Morphing between human and vampire forms, pale white skin tones when morphed, red eyes, sharp teeth, blood on their mouths or on teeth, increased strength, speed, jumping power, and in some cases, able to transform into bats, or activate their wings, and can able to fly in short to medium-long distances. If you were attacked by this creature, your chances of survival are between minimum to none, and you will always die due to blood loss and shock, and according to health officials, have 60 to 80% chance of infection and reanimation, and victims who were killed by these vampire creatures, and who were reanimated have these same characteristics and abilities. Additionally, they also have increased intelligence. Do not let anyone in your home, as these creatures can disguise themselves by morphine, and will ultimately kill you on a spot. If you spot these creatures, or if you have a life-threatening emergency, please call 911 immediately. Those who have non-emergencies should dial 311. Continue to monitor this station for later information.
This is KIT 1280 AM Radio, serving the Yakima, Washington area, coming in tonight about the recent events since the last broadcast about more than 40 minutes ago. Here is the current situation in Tacoma, Washington. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge has suffered severe damage by these vampire creatures, forcing the evacuating traffic to be redirected through the areas of Thurston and Mason counties. This had led to hundreds to thousands of deaths of civilian evacuees attempting to leave from Kitsap County, when evacuees have encountered several vampire creatures before they even get to any of the alternative routes. The city of Seattle is left in utter ruins, while Olympia is still under a voluntary evacuation order. However, military authorities of the Washington National Guard are currently assisting their evacuation efforts. This is the current update about the discussion between the commanders of the United States Armed Forces, the Washington National Guard, and the Templar Paranormal Security Forces personnel. The three groups have finally reached a decision, and the offensive of liberating the areas of Seattle metropolitan area, and all affected cities from these vampires will begin initiating by 10 minutes, while the coalition army, consisting of soldiers from the United States Armed Forces, Washington National Guard, and the Templar Paranormal Security Forces personnel's elite squadron, vampire hunters are preparing for a bloodiest battle the state of Washington has ever experienced. It is unknown how long the offensive might last, or if they would be able to deal with this situation with over several thousands of coalition forces against millions of infected vampiric mutants. Take note of the fact that every decision they make will affect hundreds of thousands of lives if they were not careful. However, with the three groups working together, we can pray and send out hopes to the coalition forces, ensuring that they might succeed, even when during the times that Washington, and including the United States, are on the edge of being involved in one of the darkest and tragic times in history. We will continue to monitor this situation and the status of the coalition forces as possible, as long as these vampires will not find the way to know their movements, something that Julian DiCaprio had been feared for a long time, knowing that vampires are full of surprises, and all of their tricks up their sleeves might deal a devastating blow to the coalition forces. This is KIT 1280 AM radio, serving in Yakima, Washington area. Welcome back to KIT 1280 AM radio, broadcasting from Yakima. This is a current update of the situation and the coalition forces. The coalition forces has just been deployed from Lakewood, Washington 10 minutes ago, and had encountered vampire hostiles at 9:29 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The TPSFP's elite squad vampire hunters managed to wipe out small groups of these creatures, and it is on its track towards Tacoma, where vampires are still wreaking havoc across the city. With the force's strength of over 9,000 soldiers in total, the fate of their winning and survival depends on when they will initiate the tactics and strategies. If you are the resident in Tacoma, Washington, please do not go outside until military authorities can extract you, or you may be shot accidentally by the coalition forces, or you may be bitten by these creatures. If you hear gunfire, or if you hear these vampires outside in the distance, hide immediately in a secure and secluded location. Do not panic. This is KIT 1280 AM radio, coming in for an update about the recent status from the coalition forces. The members of the coalition forces, including the TPSFP's vampire hunters, and military soldiers from the U.S. Army, and the Washington National Guard, had finally eliminated these vampire creatures from the city of Tacoma, while over hundreds of soldiers being wiped out in the process. Only a small number of these creatures has been seen escaping northward from Interstate 5, and it is reported to have been fleeing toward Seattle. The coalition forces feared that the vampire creatures might come back and retake Tacoma from the coalition forces' hands with lethal force. Because of this, members of the coalition forces are advising residents in Tacoma to not leave their homes as a precaution until they come to your doorstep, and they will take them to a safe location. Here is the current update of the situation. Approximately 40,000 to 100,000 vampires are seen spreading eastward at a slow pace, while vampires estimated to be 90,000 to 150,000 were marching northward, and only thousands were seen attacking parts of the Canadian province of British Columbia, while only a small percentage of the 70,000 vampire creatures were pushed back from Tacoma, however, still remains on track towards Thurston and Lewis counties by the south. As of that moment, the Federal Emergency Management Agency feared that shelters which were set up in the southern part of Pierce County may not be safe from these vampire attacks. As a result, emergency shelters are now being moved to Lewis County, and many evacuees present are being forced to relocate to the new shelters in Lewis County. The eastern part of the Seattle metropolitan area remained largely unaffected as there are only a small number of vampiric creatures moving eastward at a slow rate, between 5 to 15 miles per hour. The counties by the west from the Seattle metro area, such as Clallam County, Jefferson County, Grays Harbor County, Mason County, and Pacific County, are these states that remained unaffected by this vampiric attack, but they are currently under a voluntary evacuation by FEMA. The coalition forces haven't suffered a huge losses of life at this time, but may expect to change quickly as the situation and the liberation offensive progresses. To find out more about this situation, please visit our website at newstalkkit.com. We will continue to update the status of the coalition forces and the whole situation as soon as we get it. This is KIT 1280 AM radio, serving the Yakima, Washington area.
Civil danger for the entire state of Washington and nearby areas. The following message is transmitted at the request by the United States Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, and the Washington Office of Emergency Management. The Commander-in-Chief of the Templar Paranormal Security Forces personnel, Zan Julian DiCaprio, and most of the elite squadron forces were killed at Mount Rainier National Park. Danielle Myrtle and Ryan Abrahams are believed to be responsible for their deaths. Additionally, the hordes of vampire creatures, who were rampaging in the north and south, had suddenly began charging towards the east, and it is expected to reach the town of Ellensburg within 45 minutes. All residents in Washington are urged to evacuate to south or west immediately. There is no time to gather a large amount of food and other essentials. However, if you can do so in the next 60 to 90 seconds, you may be able to gather some food, water, and medical supplies. When you evacuate, follow down Interstate 90 to the east towards Spokane, or towards the state of Idaho. Follow down Interstate 82 southeast towards Richland, or towards the state of Oregon. Take any alternative routes or shortcuts and try to get as far away from Washington as possible. Speed limits are increased to 150 miles per hour to allow evacuees to flee from Washington safely. the Washington National Guard, and the remaining members of the TPFSP squad, Vampire Hunters, will be assisting on the evacuation efforts on marked evacuation routes. Do not hesitate to evacuate, or you will be facing an extremely dangerous situation. Please stand by and await further instructions. Evacuate now.
This is KIT 1280 AM radio, serving the Yakima, Washington area. This station will now cease transmission shortly, following the update of the current situation. At exactly 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, the squadron of the Templar Paranormal Security Forces personnel were nearly wiped out, and the Commander-in-Chief, Zan Julian DiCaprio, is now confirmed to be mutated into the vampire creature, and at last report from the United States Armed Forces, the vampires were seen charging through the east, and at that current speed, they will reach Yakima within 20 minutes. We are being told that we should evacuate immediately, and as such, this station will now go off the air for our safety. Tune to other radio stations, or on 1180 kHz on the AM band, to continue monitoring this deadly situation. If you are not evacuating, do so now. Nowhere is safe in Washington. The military will be securing the entire state within an hour. God bless you all, to the citizens of Yakima.
This message is transmitted at the request by the Government of Canada. The situation about these vampire creatures first spotted in British Columbia has been escalated. Thousands of creatures were suddenly appeared to the charging through the east, with Alberta also under attack by the charging stampede of these creatures. The Canadian Royal Army and the government are strongly advised to evacuate to east immediately. There is not enough time to gather a large amount of emergency supplies. However, you can gather a small amount, if you can do so within the next 30 to 60 seconds. The Templar Paranormal Security Forces personnel will be sending out some remaining squad members to assist the evacuation efforts. Do not stay in your home. These creatures have enough power to break into their homes with little effort. You will be killed, and may turn into one of them. Evacuate now.
We interrupt your programming. This is a national emergency. Important instructions will follow. The following message is transmitted by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the United States government. At 1:37 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, the states of Washington, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, California, and Nevada have reported severe vampire attacks from several major cities and towns. This activity was first originated from Dr. Jose Park in Seattle, Washington, and has spread eastward at a rapid rate. The two lead perpetrators of this attack, Danielle Myrtle and Ryan Abrahams, were nowhere to be found by the CIA and the FBI, and are believed to be remained at large. All residents in the United States are advised to monitor this situation, and those living in the affected states needed to evacuate to the East Coast as soon as possible. The following marked evacuation routes can be found at www.fema.gov. Prepare an emergency supply of food, water, clothing, medical supplies, and a battery-powered radio. Some reports of vampire creatures attacking in Canada and in parts of Mexico have been received, and the government agencies is believed that the vampires may attack the entire planet within the next couple of hours. Due to this, possible nuclear sterilization strikes may occur as a last-ditch effort if the situation is posing a global threat, and residents in the United States must seek a fallout shelter, as a precautionary measure. If you do not evacuate, you may be putting yourself and others in extreme danger. This is an emergency action notification. All broadcast and cable stations shall transmit this emergency action notification message. This station has interrupted normal programming at the request by the White House to participate in the emergency alert system. During this emergency, all cable and broadcast stations will remain on the air, to continue providing news and information to the public in assigned areas. This is KCWY. This station will continue to serve the Casper area. If you are not in this area, tune to stations providing news and information in your area. You are listening to the emergency alert system serving the Casper area. Do not use the telephone. Telephone lines should be kept open for emergency use. The emergency alert system has been activated. We interrupt your programming. This is a global emergency. Important instructions will follow. The following message is transmitted at the request by the United States government. This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. Several vampire attacks have been received from several major cities across the world. These areas that were attacked include the following international locations: Tokyo, Japan; Shanghai, China; Beijing, China; Seoul, South Korea; Taipei, Taiwan; Vancouver, Canada; Toronto, Canada; Montreal, Canada; Monterrey, Mexico; Mexico City, Mexico; London, UK; Paris, France; Madrid, Spain; Barcelona, Spain; and Oslo, Norway. The following domestic U.S. cities that were under attack by these creatures are, but are not limited to, Seattle, Washington; Los Angeles, California; San Francisco, California; San Diego, California; Phoenix, Arizona; Las Vegas, Nevada; Reno, Nevada; Boise, Idaho; Great Falls, Montana; Minneapolis, Minnesota; Kansas City, Missouri; Dallas, Texas; Indianapolis, Indiana; Detroit, Michigan; Nashville, Tennessee; Atlanta, Georgia; Jacksonville, Florida; Miami, Florida; and Charlotte, North Carolina. All of these affected areas have suffered major damage and casualties, with many reports of vampire infections have been received. This is a global emergency, and the United States has been authorized to launch nuclear strikes at the affected areas as a last resort to halt further vampire attacks. The entire nation is now currently in DEFCON 1. DEFCON 1 means nuclear war or attack is imminent. If you are not in a fallout shelter, go to one of them now. Fallout is byproduct from nuclear explosions, and certain death will occur when exposed to radiation for a prolonged periods of time. If no such shelters exist in your area, head to the basement of your home, or head to the centermost portion of your home if you don't have a basement. Put as many objects between you and the outside world. Stay away from windows and doors. Turn off all vents, air conditioning, and heating systems. Do not go outside until an all-clear siren is sounded. If no all-clear siren is sounded, wait for at least 14 days, or until military authorities comes to extract you. Make sure you have 14 days worth of emergency supplies to last. Do not panic. Panicking will most likely decrease your chance of survival, and could make the situation worse. Please stand by for the message from the representative of the President of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, the representative of the President.
Good evening. I am the representative of the President of the United States, here tonight in behalf of the President Donald J. Trump, who is currently being evacuated from Washington, D.C. to an undisclosed location at this time. I have been authorized to read out the following message. At 3:10 a.m., several vampire creatures have been wreaking havoc in Asia, and in parts of Europe, Canada, and Mexico. The situation has been escalated into a global scale. We cannot take any chances of having one country be infected or attacked by the other. Therefore, we are granted permission to initiate nuclear sterilization strikes to all of the affected areas. Although no missiles have been launched, it is only a matter of time before the government agencies do so. This has becoming the darkest and deadliest days of our nation, and has gotten a lot of international attention to many countries. Though our actions may wipe out several economic values away from their technological cities like ours, and that it would cost our own property and lives of our own, including those around the world, we will not back down to the creatures of soulless, like these vampires. We will come back from the ashes, and we will one day find Danielle Myrtle and Ryan Abrahams, and put them to justice. We know that it might be bad for this to happen, but I'm advising all of you to do the following actions to keep you safe from any kind of situation such as this. Stay indoors or in your basement. Do not go outside. Fallout can kill, and it is invisible to humans. Make sure you have food, water, clothing, medical supplies, extra batteries, and a battery-powered radio. Turn off all vents and air conditioning, anything that could bring radioactive dust into your home. Seal off cracks in your house. Use the battery-powered radio to continue listening to our broadcasts, or to continue monitoring the situation by AM radio frequencies. Do not go outside, or you might risk being killed by these vampires, or suffer from radiation poisoning. We have no idea if these nuclear strikes might actually work against these creatures, but let's pray to God that we hope that it will work, as this is the only last resort measure, since the Templar Paranormal Security Forces personnel is running out of squad members from the elite fireteam squad vampire hunters. Let this be the final message from the Bible. Our God is our God, who raised us as a superpower, a disciple. He will come and save us from the brink of death. Even if we die right now, our nation will remain under God. May God save us all. Good night and God bless.
That was the message from the representative of the President of the United States. We will now return you to the emergency alert system.
Normal programming will now cease transmission after the alert. Tune to stations providing news and information on the AM frequencies of 910 MHz or on 1150 MHz to continue monitoring this dangerous situation. This is WABC-TV, serving the New York City area. This station will now cease transmission.